What's going on, sweet baby angels and pumpkin heads? It's your girl, Miss Tetra Resinstone. And you guys, I was on the internet. I came across this article, pedophiles and child killers. And I was like, you know what? Let's see if I don't know any of these people in this article. And I was shocked. Now, this is like the most famous or infamous killers. And there was one that I didn't know about. And I'm kind of shocked that I hadn't heard about this case. And I got to talk about it today. You guys, we are talking about none other than Pedro Alonso Lopez. Now, this man, Pedro Alonso Lopez was born in 1948 and was responsible for the murders of over 350 children. 350 children. Yes, you heard that right. 350 children. 350. Yet in 1998, he was set free despite his vows to kill again. Rumors regarding his whereabouts have swirled since the late 1990s. Now, I am shocked. Wait, what? You killed 350 and they let you go and the whereabouts is unknown? I am so confused. I need to get into this. I need to understand where he is, why he's not in prison. Now, Lopez was born in a town called Tolima, Colombia, a time when the country was in political turmoil and crime was rampant. He was the seventh of 13 children born to a Colombian prostitute. When Lopez was 8 years old, his mother caught him touching his sister's breast and he was kicked out of the home forever. Now, listen, I think this might be a little bit of a reaction. I don't know the full story, but just touching a breast at that young of an age, I don't know the sister's age, but it doesn't seem like that doesn't necessarily seem that he is a predator at that age. 8 years old is still really young, and children do explore their bodies and their siblings' bodies. So that is kind of normal. So mom, I don't know if she handled that properly at all. Now, yeah, not really, because it can't. Now, there are situations when obviously it's not. Now, Lopez became a beggar of the violent Colombian streets, and he was soon approached by a man who sympathized with the boy's situation and offered him a safe home and food to eat. Lopez, desperate and hungry, did not hesitate and went with the man. Instead of going to a comfortable home, he was taken to an abandoned building and repeatedly sodomized and returned to the streets. During the attack, Lopez angrily vowed that he would do the same to as many little girls that he could, a promise he later kept. After being raped by the pedophile, Lopez became paranoid of strangers, hiding during the day and scavenging for food at night. Within a year, he left Tolima and wandered to a town of Bogota. An American couple reached out to him after feeling pity for the thin boy begging for food. They brought him to a home and enrolled him in a school for orphans. But when he was 12 years old, a male teacher molested him shortly after Lopez stole money and fled back to the streets. Now, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. He does run back to the streets, but it breaks my heart that already this little boy by 12 years old has already been a victim of so much trauma from being disowned and kicked out at 8 years old. I mean, I can't imagine, and I'm not excusing what he has done, and I'm not trying to say that because he went through that that's a justification for what he is admitted and accused and served 20 years of doing. And we're going to get into that, but it really breaks my heart. And this is a fantastic example that how when you don't heal from your trauma and you don't heal from the stuff that you've been through, it can really manifest itself into a very toxic, dark place. Now, Lopez, lacking in education and skill, survived on the streets by begging and committing petty thievery. His stealing advanced to car theft, and he was paid well when he sold the stolen cars to chop shops. He was arrested at the age of 18 for car theft and sent to prison. After a few days of being there, he was gang raped by 4 prisoners. The anger and rage he experienced as a child rose inside him again, consuming him. He made another vow to himself to never be violated again. Lopez got his revenge for the rape by killing 3 of the 4 men responsible. Authorities added 2 years to his sentence, deeming his actions as self-defense. During his incarceration, he had time to revisit his life, and quiet rage towards his mother became monstrous. Now, between his prostitute mother and the pornography he was consuming while in prison, Lopez's only knowledge of women fed his demented hatred for them. In 1978, Lopez was released from prison, moved to Peru, and began kidnapping and killing young Peruvian girls. He was caught by a group of Indians and tortured, buried up to his neck in the sand, but was later freed and deported to Ecuador. Experiencing near death did not influence his murderous ways, and his killings of young girls continued. The increase of missing girls was noticed by authorities, but it was concluded that they had likely been kidnapped by child peddlers and sold as sex slaves. Now, this is really sad that it was just chalked up to, well, it's just the peddlers, child peddlers kidnapping the kids, which I understand. Different countries and different resources, and I get it. So I don't want to harp on them too much, but it is just really, really sad that, they don't have the resources to really dive deeper into all of these missing girls. In April 1980, a flood exposed the bodies of 4 murdered children, and the Ecuadorian authorities realized that there was a serial murderer at large. Shortly after the flood, Lopez was caught trying to abduct a young girl after the child's mother intervened. The police could not get Lopez to cooperate, so they enlisted the help of a local priest, dressed him as a prisoner, and placed him in the cell with Lopez. The trick worked, and Lopez was quick to share his brutal crimes with his new cellmate. Confess, and when confronted by the police about the crimes he shared with his cellmate, Lopez broke down and confessed. His memory of his crimes were very clear, which was remarkable since he had confessed to killing at least 110 children in Ecuador, more than 100 in Colombia, and another 100 in Peru. Lopez admitted that he would walk the streets looking for innocent girls who he could lure away with the promise of gifts. Lopez often brought the girls to a prepared graves, sometimes filled with the dead bodies of other girls he had killed. He would calm the child with soft, reassuring words throughout the night. At sunrise, he would rape and strangle them, satisfying his sick sexual needs as he watched their eyes fade as they died. He never killed at night because he could not see his victim's eyes and felt without that element, the murder was a waste. Now, that is a lot. That part, his confession is it's astonishing how sick and how twisted and how evil this man became. This entire time we've heard about his woes and his horrible, his upbringing, but to have this idea that you wanted to look your victims in their eyes and watch them fade away. That's probably the most difficult part of this article to read. The sheer numbers of the victims that he had is also, it's unbelievable that someone could do that. And he has no conscience. He has no feelings. He has no, there's not a soul anymore. And, past, he detached so far from himself and filled himself with anger and rage. So Lopez essentially, he died when that child finally, was 18 and was being raped and stuff. But that one, to then go on and bring the victims to a pre-dug grave and have reassuring words and calm them down and to just the bitter betrayal and he had hours to let them go. But he chose to wait until sunrise and then rape and strangle them for his sick sexual needs. It's beyond disgusting, beyond vile, and it feels so gross. In Lopez's confession, he told of having tea parties and playing morbid games with the deceased children. He would prop them up in their graves and talk to them, convincing himself that his little friends liked the company. But when the dead children failed to answer, he would become bored and go out and find other victims. So there's a lot of mental issues definitely going on here. Very, very morbid. And I mentioned Ed Gein earlier. And I think that there's a little bit of similarity in that sense of playing with the mannequins, or playing with the children, playing with the dead bodies. There's a bit morbidness in there. It makes me wonder what else he did with the dead bodies, though the article doesn't really go further into that. Now, later, After this news broke, everything goes crazy. The police found his ghastly confession hard to believe. So Lopez agreed to take them to the graves of the children. More than 53 bodies were found, which was enough for the investigators to take him at his word. The public renamed him Monster of Andres as more information about his crimes became known. For his crimes of raping and killing and mutilating over 100 children, Lopez received a sentence of life in prison. Now, you just heard that. He just received a life in prison sentence, and you're going to okay. Lopez never showed remorse for his crimes. In his prison interview with the journalist Ron Lontner, he said if he ever got out of prison, he would happily return to killing young children. The pleasure he received from his demented acts of murder overpowered any sense of right from wrong, and he admittedly looked forward to the opportunity to wrap his hands around the throat of the next child. Okay, so this right here. So we have this guy. We have 53 bodies that we have found. We have him in an interview talking about the crimes, saying that he doesn't feel any kind of remorse, saying that, he, given an opportunity, would love to go in and kill more children. And it brings us to the next part of this article, the second release. I'm shocked. How can you release someone who has admitted that as soon as they have an opportunity to be around a child again, they're going to kill them? No one was concerned that Lopez would have the opportunity to kill again. If paroled from prison in Ecuador, he would still have to stand trial for his murders in Colombia and Peru. But after 20 years of solitary confinement, in the summer of 1998, it is said that Lopez was taken to the middle of the night to the border of Colombia and released. Neither Colombia or Peru had the money to bring the madman to justice. Okay, wait a minute. Wait, what? Wait. So let's just let him out. I don't understand how they got him out. This part of the article really frustrates me, and it doesn't even make any sense. Now, whatever happens to the Monster of Andres is unknown. Many suspect and hope that one of the many bounties offered for his head eventually paid off and that he is in fact dead. If Lopez has escaped his enemies and is still alive, there is little doubt that he has returned to his old ways and he's murdering children. So I don't understand how the Colombian government can just let him go. I don't understand that. I don't understand how the Ecuadorian government is just like, okay, bye. You're now Ecuador, or you're Peru's problem. You're Colombia's problem. Like, I don't understand why after 20 years of solitary confinement in the middle of the summer, you just take his ass to the border and say, okay, bye. And there's so many twists and turns, and the dynamics of this particular individual is, beyond. It's insane. It's insane. The way that the public, the authorities just released him, I think is incredibly insane. At that point, when you have uncovered 53 bodies, you would think that, a bullet to the back of the head would be sufficient. Sentenced to death, I don't know if that's something that they do, but considering that he's murdered over 300 people, I really don't see how. I don't think anyone would be upset by that. I just don't understand how this man has been able to continue to abuse and hurt so many young people. It's not fair to all of those children. Their lives were cut short. And at the end of the day, we go through horrible things and we go through traumatic things, but that doesn't give you a right to pay that pain forward. You have to deal with your own shit. You have to own your own shit. And you have to be able to take responsibility for yourself. And this man was clearly very, very, very sick and mentally ill, and he should have been locked up forever. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Do you think that Lopez is still out in the woods, wandering, stalking the streets, luring young girls? Do you think that he was finally killed? What are your thoughts? Leave it down below in the comments. And also, let me know if you had already heard about this story. I totally missed it. So until next time, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye-bye.